If you currently hold a debit card in your wallet or maintain a balance in a major commercial bank account, you are standing on a fault line that most people don't even realize exists until the ground opens up beneath them. Imagine waking up, reaching for your phone to check your balance, and seeing not just a zero, but a negative balance, thousands of dollars gone, and a notification that you now actually owe the bank money for overdraft fees on transactions you never made. This isn't a hypothetical nightmare. It is the reality for thousands of Chase customers who are finding out the hard way that their money isn't nearly as safe as the glossy brochures led them to believe. We aren't talking about hackers breaking into Chase's central servers in some cinematic data breach. We are talking about a much more intimate and devastating form of theft. It is a scam executed through a simple phone call, a series of seemingly innocent text messages, and a voice on the other end of the line, in this case, a woman calling herself Miss Barbara from Chase ATM. The story of Deborah Moss, who lost nearly $160,000 in a single week, is the ultimate cautionary tale of our modern era. Deborah wasn't careless. She was a victim of a professional-grade psychological operation that exploited the very security systems designed to protect her. Before we go any further, you must understand a fundamental truth. The legal framework surrounding banking fraud in the United States, established by the Supreme Court and federal consumer protection statutes, is currently weighted heavily in favor of the institutions, not the individuals. This is precisely why a bank as massive as Chase can look at a victim of a sophisticated scam and flatly deny their claim, leaving them financially ruined while the bank walks away legally unscathed. By the end of this deep dive investigation, you will understand the 5 layers of this silent authorization scam, the specific legal loopholes in the Electronic Fund Transfer Act that the banks use as a shield, and most importantly, the non-negotiable hard target rules you must implement today to ensure your life savings don't evaporate overnight. Let's look at the anatomical breakdown of how Deborah Moss, a woman who spent 12 years meticulously building her $160,000 nest egg, was liquidated in 7 days. Deborah had just moved into a new home, a period of high stress and logistical chaos that scammers love to exploit. A few weeks after her move, she received a text message that appeared to be a standard fraud alert from Chase. This is layer 1, the real text trap. What most people don't realize is that the text Deborah received wasn't a fake. It was an authentic system-generated message from Chase's own fraud department. The scammers had already gained access to her login credentials, likely through a dark web purchase of leaked data, and they intentionally triggered a small $35 test transaction. They knew this would force Chase's automated system to send Deborah a real alert. Because the amount was small, it didn't trigger a panic response, it triggered a helpful response. When Deborah replied no to the unauthorized charge, she wasn't talking to a scammer, she was interacting with the bank's real security bot. This set the stage for layer 2, the spoofed authority. Minutes after the text, her phone rang. The caller ID explicitly read, Chase Bank. We live in an era where caller ID spoofing technology is cheap, legal, and ubiquitous. A criminal in a basement in another country can make your phone display any number they want, the local police, the IRS, or your own bank's customer service line. When Miss Barbara spoke, she didn't sound like a criminal. She sounded like a professional, helpful bank employee. There was no urgency or pressure typical of low-level scams. She was calm, she was patient. She told Deborah that since her card was compromised, the bank would send a new one via FedEx, but first she needed to verify Deborah's identity. This brings us to layer 3, the verification trap, the most technically brilliant part of the heist. Miss Barbara told Deborah She would send a verification code to her phone and ask Deborah to read it back. This is where the trap snapped shut. That code wasn't for a new debit card. It was a one-time password, OTP, for a high-value wire transfer. By reading those numbers aloud, Deborah was inadvertently providing the final key to the scammers who were sitting at a computer ready to hit send on a $48,000 wire transfer. From the bank's perspective, the security system worked perfectly. The system sent a code to the registered owner's phone, and that code was entered correctly. In the eyes of the bank's automated ledger, Deborah had just personally authorized the movement of her money. Over the next week, the scammers called back multiple times, claiming FedEx was having trouble finding her new address due to her recent move. Each time, they sent more verification codes, and each time, Deborah unwittingly authorized another massive wire transfer. By the time Deborah walked into a physical Chase branch to check on her new card, $160,000 was gone. She actually owed the bank $895 because the last transfer had triggered an overdraft. The most chilling part of Deborah's story isn't the theft itself, it's what happened when she asked for help. Chase denied her claim. Why? Because of a legal distinction between unauthorized and authorized transactions. Under the Electronic Fund Transfer Act, EFTA, and Regulation E, banks are generally required to reimburse you if someone steals your money without your involvement. However, if you participate in the transaction, even if you were tricked into doing so, the bank often classifies that as an authorized transfer. Because Deborah provided the codes, Chase argued she didn't take appropriate steps to protect her account. This is the social engineering loophole. The bank protects the system, but they do not protect the user from deception. As far as the law is concerned, once you hand over that code, you have handed over the keys to the vault, and the bank is no longer liable for what the person with the keys does. To protect yourself in 2026, you have to adopt a zero-trust posture. Rule number 1, the inbound is always fake policy. It does not matter what your caller ID says. It does not matter if the caller knows your last 4 digits or your home address. If a bank calls you, hang up. Use the number on the back of your physical card to call them back. No legitimate bank employee will ever ask you for a one-time verification code over the phone. If they ask for a code, it is 100% a scam, period. Rule number 2, the wire transfer lockdown. You should contact your bank today and ask to disable digital outbound wires. Most people don't send $50,000 wires from their phone every day. You can request that all wire transfers require an in-person branch authorization. This one step alone would have saved Deborah's entire life savings. If the scammers had tried to wire the money, they would have been told they needed to show a physical ID at a branch. Rule number 3, account segregation. Never keep your primary life savings in a checking account attached to a debit card. Use a separate high-yield savings account or a different institution entirely for your long-term capital, and keep your daily spending account balance low. This creates a firewall that limits the damage a single scam can do. If you are already a victim, you must act within the 72-hour golden window. You need to demand a wire recall immediately. While wires are designed to be final, there is a small window where banks can attempt to claw back the funds if the receiving bank hasn't yet released the cash. You must also file a Consumer Financial Protection Bureau (CFPB) complaint. The bank might ignore you, but they cannot ignore a federal regulator. A CFPB complaint forces the bank to provide a formal written response and often leads to a more senior level of review than a standard customer service claim. The reality of modern banking is that the technology has moved faster than the law. We are using 1970s era consumer protection laws to